All right, so we're going to try this again, and this time we're going to have the microphone on. So today I'm trying to show you how to do some stuff using the gradient tool and gradient options that you can do in Illustrator. So you used to only have two, linear and radial. Back in my day, you only had linear and radial, and now they have added freeform. So I have this document where we're going to show all of these different types. All right, so I'm going to hold down Alt and scroll up so I can zoom in on that one part, spacebar as I drag around. So on the linear one, let's move that over just so that it needs to look better. Hopefully that's how you spell it. We'll find out in a minute. So in order to do this, I need to get my my gradient panel open, right? And so in order to do that, I'm going to go up here to Window and then go to Gradient somewhere. A, B, C, D, E, F, Gradient. There we go. All right, so this is my gradient panel here. And I've got, you may not have a whole lot of options here. If you click on these three little lines here, you'll have show options, and that gives you some more choices. All right? Make sure you select the object that you're working with, and then I'm going to go over here and apply the gradient. I just clicked on the linear gradient, L-I-N-E-A-R. Hooray, we did spell it correctly. All right, so now I've got a couple of options that I can do in here. So this is linear, meaning that it goes in a line. It just goes from one side to the other. You can change your colors of the gradient. So like if I don't want it to transition to black, if I just double click on that, I can change this to be a different color. I can change the same thing over here, maybe to a red, okay? I can also add a color. So if I have my red and my yellow and I want to have one in the middle where, nope, not that, Control Z. Click down here at the bottom, you see how I have a plus sign there? So when I click that, it adds another swatch there. And these are called swatches, all right? And I can click maybe orange. There we go, get a nice little transition there. You can change as I slide this down so you can show when that transition happens. It starts out more red, and it's red for a while before it makes that transition, all right? So those are all the little sliders. You can also change within those two colors how it changes with those little, what are those called? Sliders, yes. Just like the television show or the tiny hamburgers, those are called sliders, all right? So that is a basic intro. Oh, and so let's say that I have some colors and I want to get rid of this. So I showed you how to add this one to get rid of it. If I click on it, I have a delete option over here, or I can just click it and I'm holding the mouse and drag down, and now that'll get rid of it, okay? So that is how to add a color, take away a color, and change the color of the gradient. Cool. All of that is under linear, all right? One last thing I want to show you, so all of that is in the gradient panel, that's this over here, all right? We're going to bring up the gradient tool, which is just over here. The shortcut for that is G, all right? And so right now, this shows me that the gradient is going just in a straight line, just like that, okay? With the gradient tool, I have the option to click and drag, and I can make it where the origin point is different, where I can change it where maybe I don't want it to be all the way like that. I just want that transition to be here, and I want the rest of this to be a solid color. Okay, so when you click and drag, where you start and where you stop has an impact on the entire design. And so me clicking up here makes it where the yellow is up there because that's the starting point. Me clicking down here makes it where the yellow is from down there because it's the starting point. Okay, so a couple of things you can do. That is using the gradient tool. The shortcut is G. And then we're in the gradient panel. Okay, cool. So we did linear. That's great. Is there anything else in the world? Yes, there is something else in the world, and it's called radial. Zoom out just a little bit so you can see. Okay, radial is the exact same thing. All right, let's say that I want to just use that same piece that I was using. I've got this selected. I can use the eyedropper tool to click on that, and now I have this linear. So it picked up what was going on with that swatch and applied it to that with the eyedropper tool. All right, so I've got this selected. I know it's selected. I use my selection tool. I know the circle is selected. All right, so there is linear, and then this is radial. Right over here is where I am. So when I click that, now it starts in the middle and comes out as a circle. That is a radial gradient. All right, and just like we did earlier, I can use the shortcut G, and I can change my point of origin and get different designs. But as I draw out, it's not just a straight line, it also goes in a circle so I can see. And if I go in and change different things, if I can add another color to this, let's do an ugly color here. Yeah, so we can get some more, this yellow transitions to green, transitions to red, right? And I can make it where that green is more prominent, something like that. And all of that is coming off of changing the direction of it with the gradient tool and changing the colors like I showed you earlier, okay? Cool, well that's great. Linear and radial is all I will ever need, said people back in the day. But then Adobe said, wait, what if I give you freeform? Here's what freeform does. I'm going to select this ugly one. I'm going to select the shape, and I'll use my eyedropper tool to apply that one with the, let's get a different color because, yikes. It's a little dark. This is what you pay for. Okay. All right. So now I've got this. This is currently set to radial. Okay. And if I go over here, there is freeform. Okay. Freeform, it gave me different colors anyways. I forgot about that. Freeform allows you to have different points. All right. So I can move this point and say this is that orange color, but I want it to be, when it's up here versus up here, it does different things. All right. You also have your spread. So if I click this button right here, where'd you go? I believe in you. That changes how much or how little the spread is. And you can see over here is a way that you can manipulate that. I don't know you, and I don't want to talk to you. Sorry. So that is the spread. All right. So you can manipulate these pixels. You can move them around. You can delete them. So now the equation has changed now that I only have these few pieces. So you could do something like this in theory because this is a linear design, right? This is black that transitions to white that transitions to green. But with this, I can also do, if I put the green up here, put the white down here, and then make it where the spread is larger, all right? That gives me a different design, right? And achieving this with like 2 radial shapes coming in, it would just, you might be able to do this in the past, but it's a little bit tricky, okay? One bonus thing, I'm going to do Control-Z to get these other pieces back. One bonus thing I want to show you is that you do have the ability, because this is a relatively new thing also, that you can apply these designs to the stroke color. All right, so if I switch this to my stroke color, nope, that's not what I wanted. Let me just make if I go to Window and then Swatches, where's Swatches? Probably under the S's. Swatches, all right, and I'm going to use my selection tool and click on my radial form over here. That's my funky little color right there with the green and the red and Happy Christmas. All right, so I'm going to click and hold that, and I'm going to drag it over here to my swatches, and that is now a swatch. You can see it right over here, all right? And so when I select this, I can make, let me flip this and go to my stroke color and click this. I don't know if you can do it with freeform or not. Yes, maybe. Let's change that to radial so it's a little bit cleaner. There we go. We'll do it in linear. Okay, so you can actually do, and I made the stroke really large so that you could see what it looks like, okay? But you can actually do the gradient transitions as the outside or stroke color, all right? So that is a new thing, a couple of new things that you can do. It's been like that for a couple of years, but that's relatively new when you look at the lifespan of Adobe products, okay? So anyway, that is how you can do the linear, radial, and freeform gradients, how to use the gradient tool to change the direction and intensity of it, and how to change colors and add colors within the gradient. So a lot of information there, so feel free to, if you're lost, you can ask me about it, or you can rewatch parts of this, and hopefully that explains some stuff about the gradient tool, okay? You want to be careful with gradient tool because gradients are one of those things that can either make you look like a professional or look like an amateur depending on how you use them, all right? So you can make something that looks really, main thing I'll suggest is just go for subtlety sometimes with gradients. Not always, but sometimes. When you do something, it's like, oh, I can do gradients and I can have this fill in with all these different things, and sometimes that can get a bit overwhelming, all right? So you want to have this, like if this is in the background, when you're trying to make something look three-dimensional, then it's subtle, right? It's just the way the lighting hits it. It's not going to have these massive transitions and everything. So just kind of keep that in mind that and as you're working in gradients, show it to other people because you may think something looks good, and then you get the opinion of other people before you go publish stuff because, sometimes it can get a little out of hand depending on how you use it, okay? So hope that helps. It won't let me stop my timer now. This is getting awkward. Maybe if I move it. The funny thing is, if I post this to you,